Hey, here we are, Gavin Lance Top here. Welcome to my YouTube, my podcast, I don't know, the Facebook group. However you found me, thank you for clicking on. Something that we're going to talk about today is courage, you know. And I've got a clip on YouTube where a good mate of mine, Lloyd Ross, filmed me at one of our Fight Club nights. Fight Club, you imagine in the middle of a paddock. My paddock, we set a boxing ring up with like fires around the outside, and I start picking men to jump in and test themselves, test their mettle, their makeup, their character. And speech on YouTube at the start of one of those nights, so check that out. But you know, I was actually going through, always talking to a lot of men. It's what I love and what I'm built for, and going through my Man Alive. It's an ebook, but sends out the ebooks, but I've got a few printed up. One of the things I talk about in the first couple of chapters is courage, you know, and this is how I start that chapter with: no man is actually born with courage, you know. No man is born with courage, you know. Or even, it says in the old book that we're born with a mustard seed of faith. It could even be like that. We've got the smallest seed on earth. We're born with it. It's what we do with that seed. It's what we do with that deposit of courage. So I want to talk about that courage today. Okay, so. And of course, with everything I do, you'll hear me say it, I'm sure you've heard me say it before, this masculine journey is about action. Sure, yeah, we can read books, we can listen to podcasts, we can watch YouTube till the cows come home. But unless you actually take action, well, nothing's going to change. Okay, nothing's going to change. And so I believe you want some things to change on your masculine journey, I'm assuming, but maybe you know what you need, someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. So, but for a long time, you may have heard, I run this boxing program called Fight Like a Pro on the Gold Coast in Australia, and I'm coming from Malta. It goes over here, which I'm going to tell the story about. It's got the Maltese sign and a flag in the background there in the window. Loving Malta, it's amazing. It's an extraordinary, epic experience. You know, I think at the moment we've been about 10 months or something. It's been amazing. But anyway, but for the longest time, I end up having about 1,200 men, train them up over a 10-week program, and then have a test, and sometimes those tests were not fight clubs in my paddock. That was towards the end when I was getting just straight to the point with grunt and grit. And what do you got? Well, for a long time I'd do it at the Gold Coast Casino, and massive crowds there, or massive crowds anyway, up to 1,000 people, and you imagine having a fight. You've never had a fight before, and getting up in front of 1,000 people was quite daunting. But over the years, and I mean, even because, to be honest, if you done the work through the 10 weeks, the fight was relatively easy compared to developing courage through the process. Because sometimes if you're sparring a couple of times a week, it's like, it can be a nightmare. I know, I fought for 18 years. It can feel like, oh man, it's hard, the training's harder. But the amount of men that said to me, Gav, how the heck did you do this so many times? How the heck did you put yourself through this? I could never do it, And the truth is, okay, if I look back, I mean, obviously the longer you fight, the harder it gets, because your opponents are better. But it's the internal stuff on the inside, right? It kind of, it's like it never gets easier, the internal stuff. You always need courage. It's almost like when you step in there, when you do certain things when it comes to, being an athlete, like you're putting everything on the line like it is your last fight. It can feel like, man, this could be my last round. So it always requires courage. It always does. But one of the things that I think most men don't understand is courage actually gets you to a level that you need to be at to actually perform. You actually need nerves, you need the anxiety, you need the unknown in order for your best to actually come out. I've obviously we've got other videos and podcasts and I teach it in our mentorship, about operating at average, doing what everyone else is doing. Well, that's safe. And quite often when we're growing up, we're told to be careful, play it safe. And the result is an undeveloped man. Courage is undeveloped. So a range of different things which we'll talk about a little bit later. And of course I'm going to always give you a task to do so that you can develop courage today. Okay? So because I'm in my early 50s now, and courage must be exercised. As I said, you may get a deposit, or maybe no one's even born with courage, but as you go through life and locate the things that are close to your heart, that your non-negotiables, that's when you can actually start to use courage. And I'm going to tell you a recent story, like how do we live out courage? I'm not going to ask anyone, go out and have a fight to develop your courage, although that may be what's in your heart. I'm never going to talk you out of that. I'm going to encourage that, I've got some men actually coming to Gozo with our inner circle program, the one-on-one coaching that we do. They're actually coming to Gozo. I've told them to be ready. Get yourself in shape, in good nick, because you don't know what's going to happen. Once again, whoa, I better get myself ready. So, so if that's you and you want to come, leave me a comment. I'm sure you'd love it. So anyway, day to day, how does day-to-day courage pan out? Because some of us are just too busy with they're too busy but caught in a rut. Well, that takes courage to get out of that. Some of us have got little resentments where it takes courage to forgive. Some of us are just maybe holding on to the past. Well, that takes courage to step into the future, into the unknown, And if everything's good and operating at average, and when I say average of what you really could do, what's really in your heart, well, that takes a tremendous amount of courage. But when you understand, and this is a good reference point when you think about the things that are, and maybe if you're taking notes, maybe this is something to write down. Like, what are the most important things in your life? Like, what is close to your heart? Where does your values lie? Because I'm going to be straight. I'm always like to be a straight talker, because I hear even recently again and again, my family is the most important thing. But then men are not fighting for their marriage. Men people say that their children are the most important thing, but men are caught up working 12 hours a day. Hey, there might be a poke in the chest, but it's something to have a look at, because it takes courage to actually change those things. So here I am. Quick story. I know my values. I've got 7 kids. I've got five amazing daughters, wonderful daughters, beautiful daughters, probably the most beautiful daughters here in Malta, I think. And of course 2 amazing sons. And anyway, I'll talk about those sons maybe a bit later. But anyway, so So I hear my girls, I'm encouraging them to have new experiences, work in different places, meet new people. You know, this is what we're doing. We're actually on a pilgrimage, you know. One of my girls working down the road at a cafe, and there's some obviously other people there. She says, oh, they're giving this girl a hard time. There's some gentlemen there. Well, they're not really gentlemen, I suppose. They're making sexual remarks, these older men, you know, my age, a little bit older. And I'm like, that's not good. So, anyway, so a couple of days goes past and I says to her, so how's things going? She goes, oh yeah. And one of my girls says about my other, oh, she said something to my daughter. Well, I beg your pardon? Hang on a minute. So what? She goes, oh, they were saying stuff about my body. I said, okay. All right, that's it. You've overstepped the mark. My values. So when do you need courage? Well, this is one of those times, because sometimes it's having hard conversations, you know. So to be honest, I found it hard to sleep that night, okay? So I get up in the morning, I go straight down to the cafe, because they sit there, you know, there's a group of them, there's a table of them. They're there every day. I get down there, I'm sitting, as I turn around, oh my goodness me, cafe's closed today. So anyway, I said, hang on, come on, I'm probably not, I think I've been looked after because I'm probably not thinking the best, you know. And, you know, there can be and this is when, you know, the masculine journey, we've got strength, we've got grunt, we've got tenacity, but we also must use it correctly. You know, I remember years ago my dad talking back when I was playing football in Victoria, in Australia, and Aussie rules, and my dad talked to me about controlled aggression. And it was like, this is one of those times, you know. Anyway, I have a good night's sleep the night after, and I'm walking down and I think, hang on, what do I really want here? What's the outcome? And obviously my daughter to be looked after, respected, taken care of, etc. But I thought, what's the outcome I want for these men? And this is courage, gentlemen. I actually thought, to be honest with myself, I didn't want to wring them by the throat. I actually wanted to help them. You know, that's really what's in my heart. I want to help people. I want to help men. I want to help. I want people to be helped and supported and encouraged to follow their dream, you know, everywhere I go on the planet Earth. And men, you know, it takes courage to actually get our thinking in order. You know, you may be taking notes. If you are, you know, how is your thinking? What are some adjustments maybe that need to be changed? Anyway, so by the time I get down there, and I see them there, I thought, beautiful. There's about 6 or 7 of them. So I tell you, it was wisdom. I'm not sure where it come from. I think it might have come from above. But I said to these men, I said, hey, and they, you know, I said, hey, come on. I want to take a photo of you amazing men. So I get the camera and I take a photo of them. They're like, oh. And then I come over and I say, listen, let me help you. And one of them, you know, we're all got challenged, but one of them I think is maybe a little arrogant, a bit of the ringleader there, and he goes, how can you help me? With his accent, not a very good accent, but anyway. And I said, what you've been doing is sexual harassment. I said, come in close, you man. I said, what you've been doing is the wrong thing. What are you talking about? I said, do you have a 16-year-old daughter? I said, how would you like me to go and tell her that you've been sexually harassing young girls? And of course I caught their attention at that point. I said, how would you like me to go to the police and show them this photo? And the penny dropped. Hang on a minute. They think they've just been hoodwinked. So anyway, you know, I went on a little bit more, but they got the point, okay? And long story short, they have acted like gentlemen ever since. And of course I went there the next day. and I sort of walked around the long way, and when I walked past them all, said hello, And everyone's saying, a couple of them are nudging each other. That's it. Because there was like 2 tables there the next day. And I walked into the shop, and the shopkeeper goes, I heard that you were coming. I said, what do you mean you heard I was coming? He goes, they're all talking Maltese, there he is. So gentlemen, sometimes courage is having those hard conversations. Sometimes courage is just knowing what you stand for. Sometimes courage is doing the right thing at the right time. That's how courage can look sometimes. It cannot be fighting for a world title eliminator. It doesn't have to. Courage must be exercised every day. And if you're not exercising it, I would say, like most things when it comes to a man's character, it will be getting softer. It will be getting, so that when the challenges come, well, I'm not used to you exercising this. So like, for example, even Luke, okay, I spoke to a great man who went through our mentor. Well, he's still going through our mentorship program, but he just completed the first year. And he goes, I actually achieved everything I set out to do. But I recognise, and he's enrolled for year 2, he recognised that there's more in him. There's more in him. And that takes courage to say, hang on, I'm not there yet. Because I tell you something, I'm not where I want to be. I'm glad I'm not where I was, but I'm not where I want to be. There's still more to be developed in me. And I'm pretty certain if there's more to develop in me, there's more to develop in you. And if you've got a pad and pen, I would say this might be a scale of 1 to 10 or yes or no, but are you too busy? Are you actually too busy to do the things you love? Okay? Are you too busy to actually go after your purpose? Have you allowed yourself to be distracted by actually niching down and going for what's actually in your heart, your purpose, your passions? Are you too busy? Are you avoiding difficult conversations, say with your wife or with your children or with your employees or employers? This is how it starts, man. Just getting a clear vision, saying, I need to take an action today to maybe resolve certain issues. I always like to say, it takes courage. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to forgive the unforgivable. Because, of course, when you don't forgive, they don't even know it half the time, but you do. So that takes a tremendous amount of courage, like I said earlier, to think different. When you understand your purpose, when you have a clear vision of, you know what your values are, you know what you're fighting for, okay? Because family, goodness me, loyalty, trust, jeepers, man, don't get in between. I don't care who you are, don't get in between that and me, right? All bets are off. That's because I know how close that. I know it takes courage to keep a family together. It takes courage to live out of integrity and character. It takes courage to tell the truth. It takes courage, man. But without that, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if it's worth doing. So what I'm saying is, what's worth fighting for? Like when I do that boxing program for years, say the men who did the best, they realised it wasn't about the fight. It was about developing themselves. It was about doing something that was worth fighting for. And when you understand what you're actually fighting for, man, that's when you can exercise courage. When you're operating at mediocre and average, no courage is required. So, gentlemen, there's so many things in this Man Alive ebook that I think generally refer back to you're going to need courage. So without courage, what will you do? Without purpose, who are you? So gentlemen, task for today. Maybe just a simple task is ask yourself. Ask a loved one, How do we see? Where do we see our future? Who are we going to be in the future? Maybe it's just to get out of a rut. That could be the first question. What does the future actually look like? Do we want what we're doing now to be in the future? You know, because it could be just starting like that. Maybe two could be, what is the action that's going to be required to actually live out of courage? What are the conversations? Who do I need to become? Bit like that boxing fight. Bit like the mentorship program. We understand our purpose. We get it, normally about 90 days in, we understand the direction we must go when it comes according to our purpose. The dreams that are, those deep desires that are in us, that are attached to the purpose. The thing we're actually built for, where is courage needed? Where are you holding back? So, man, I could keep talking. I could keep going on. Hey, share this with somebody who you know is going through a challenging situation. And when I say challenging, it could be, a health scare. It could be a financial scare. Maybe the challenge is with certain parts of your business, your life. You need to have a money conversation. Sometimes, man, that is needed for order, for structure. So, gentlemen, I could keep going on, but hey, as my grandmother used to say, and it still rings in my head, because Scottish woman, it's a good life if you don't weaken. Keep going, men. Live out of courage.